Hi, I'm Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn. Welcome back to another amazing segment of the Mayor's Hour. My co-host and crony and cohort in crime, Jack Harris. And Jack, we are here at a place that you probably shouldn't be.
But I've been here.
Yes, but for the fact that you are in the witness protection program, so no one really knows who you are. If you can imagine, we are here at the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, which has a significant presence here in the Tampa Bay area. Jack, I can't believe they let you through the doors of this place.
Believe it or not, I've been through here a bunch. Because
I'm sure you have, but it's usually like this, Jack.
No, actually, I was in the FBI Citizens Program. They've got a Citizens Program where you come out here, the Academy, and it is a phenomenal thing. The extent of what you learn here from the FBI and the amazing work they do, and some of the really shocking stuff that we'll talk about at some time during the program here. But one of the things, and I'll just a little tease, it happens in the basement, but when you see what goes on down there, you think, my Lord, these guys are, they're really protecting us. It's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, we see our men and women in uniform, you know, whether it's TPD or HCSO. We don't often know who our FBI agents are,
right.
But they do an amazing job here, and we're going to tell their story a little bit today. You're going to get to meet some of the amazing folks that work in this building. We'll probably get a picture of Jack's mugshot. And for youthful offenses, I'm not sure the statute of limitations has expired on some of your offenses.
I'm using a different name today.
Yeah, I know you are, but West Virginia doesn't count. So that. But stay with us. We're going to get to meet the special agent in charge of the FBI here in Tampa, and we're going to get a brief look, because a lot of stuff that goes on here you can't see, and I can't see, and you can't see. But we're going to be able to tell the story of the amazing men and women that put their lives on the line for us every day. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's good to be the mayor. He wants you right over there. On the ground. On the ground.
Come on now. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Wow. Jackets will fully inflate and you're ready to enter the water.
Welcome back to the first segment of the Mayor's Hour. Jack, we are here with the special agent in charge of the Tampa office, Agent Paul Wysopal. And he has been here, what, Paul, about 2 years now?
About 16 months.
16 months.
Yeah, got here September 2013.
Yeah. So tell us what goes on here in this office.
A little bit of everything, actually. The way I would liken it is, you see on the side of the police car, it says to protect and serve. You have to think of the federal system as very similar to that. We just answer to different violations. But basically our objective is to serve the community, make sure that the people that are victimized are protected, to try to right the wrong, and also when we do arrest somebody, to make sure that their civil liberties and rights are enforced as well. So we're really not much different than the local police department. We just handle different violations.
So we're familiar with Tampa Police or HCSO or FDLE. What is it that differentiates the federal law enforcement side of things? Obviously, we know that some of the cases that you work on, you have jurisdiction over and locals do not. But what would some of those types of offenses be?
Sure. The big things for us, obviously, terrorism, number one priority, the FBI. The President Bush at the time designated the FBI as the lead agency on terrorism investigations.
Domestically and internationally, or just domestically?
Well, you can only do domestically. Yeah. If it's international, we need to get authority from the host country if an event occurs over there, and they would allow the FBI to investigate. Same thing if a American citizen were killed overseas, we would pitch that country to allow us to come and assist. Basically, because they are a U.S. citizen, we want to make sure that their rights and family is given as much information as possible. But the terrorism being number one, we worked out with the state, local, and other federal agencies. That is done here on a joint terrorism task force, and that's basically so that we can pool resources. Post 9/11, everybody knows we don't have enough resources in our own division, let alone the FBI as a whole, to work terrorism cases successfully. You need the state, local, and other federal partners. So that's probably our number one priority. Number two would be counterintelligence. We want to make sure that people don't come to our country and spy, collect information, and bring it back to their country to our detriment. Same thing with our private industry. You want to make sure that the folks don't come in and commit intellectual property violations, because businesses can go belly up if all that research and development cost is not recuperated. The third would be our cyber, and that kind of impacts across the board, all spectrum of investigations. There isn't a case that we don't work now where we're doing some sort of cyber investigation. If you're doing a white-collar case and you get a search warrant, you're looking at somebody's computers. The same thing with a terrorism case. As you know, social media is huge. So we're always incorporating the cyber aspect to all investigations. And then there's civil rights, public corruption, white-collar crime, whether it be financial institution fraud, bankruptcy fraud, healthcare fraud, various criminal offenses that fall in under gangs, drug cases, the violent crime, child pornography, crimes against children in general. And we even work not so much here directly, but Indian country. It's another violation that the FBI has investigation over. Federal lands, some reservations are state-run, so the county sheriff would be the investigative authority, but on federally run, the FBI would be the lead.
And the terrorism thing, of course, that comes to the fore as far as the public is concerned now, because people are getting to be more and more concerned about people coming into this country and the danger that we're in since 9/11. I think we've had another wake-up call when we see what's happening in the Middle East now, and know that our border is a little porous. I mean, we allow people into this country. That you guys have a big role there, and obviously working, I guess, with NSA and the CIA and I guess again local agencies.
Yeah. It's the biggest risk because we've got to be successful 100% of the time.
Yeah.
The terrorists only have to be successful once to get a splash in the news. One event for us could be a very bad day, so we have to be on our game at all times. And that's why the FBI is a 24/7, 365 outfit. There's just no going to sleep. We are spread throughout the world. You look anywhere, any hour of the day, we probably have a field office. There are 56 field offices within the United States, and we have 64 legal attaches that are overseas, and they have 21 sub-offices. So you look at any hour on the clock, and we've got somebody that's awake working. And the director actually has the ability to reach out and contact somebody, should they be asleep at the time that happens, to get more resources.
I was talking earlier with them about this is such a beautiful facility, and talking about the history of the facility. And well, it's nice.
His
okay,
colleagues
it's
are
nice.
jealous.
But that used to be downtown and everything, and how the Oklahoma City bombing changed the face of FBI facilities now. Explain that.
It's true. The Murrah building in Oklahoma City was attacked in, I believe it was 95. The downside to that was you had civilian casualties. The target was political, but you had children that were going to a daycare center that were hit. And if they were to attack, or someone were to attack federal law enforcement, you don't want to have that type of civilian casualty. So the goal was to move the Bureau, the FBI offices, to a more secure facility where we're isolated. So if you were to drive up, we can have barriers in place that would prevent the building from being damaged. So that all went into the mindset of how do we kind of protect the community as best we can and still do our jobs.
Yeah, because they used to be down in the federal building, and then in the Timberlake building, and then finally out here.
I think we've been here since 2006.
You know, it's interesting. I think one of the hallmarks of the Tampa office for probably a decade now, and I would venture to say this is probably not the case elsewhere, is the very, very close working relationship that you have with local law enforcement. I mean, it's almost as if they're seamless. I mean, you guys are on the same team, you communicate with each other, you coordinate with each other. There's none of the turf battles that occasionally happen elsewhere. But it seems like it's been a great working relationship, and results are, you see the results in the crime numbers and, the apprehensions that you guys are doing.
It's worked out well. Since I've been here, that was the first thing I learned when I got here. I try to meet with the other federal, state, and local, and tribal partners to find out what is our relationship, how do we improve it. And a lot of it's through training, communication. You got to get out and meet those directors. If you don't get out to the chief of police and know who they are, you don't want that bad incident to be the first time you meet them. You have to establish that relationship. So I think there's a concerted effort on all agencies' part to get together. For one, just to give you an example, locally here, we have the Tampa Bay Area Chiefs of Police Association. They meet every so often, and everybody comes together for those meetings. And maybe just to share a lunch with them and discuss business. But then when something were to occur, that's not the first time I'll have met that chief of police. So you establish that dialogue and that relationship. And we do a lot of training. We just did one at the West Shore Mall, the International Mall, not too long ago, where, heaven forbid, should somebody do a devastating attack on the mall, how do you respond to it?
I read about that.
State and locals are your first responders, not the FBI, but we will be rolling out there because if it's presumed a terrorist act, we will end up assuming jurisdiction at that point. So you don't want it to be, hey, we get called, we come in, we're the FBI, we're taking over. You need to work with those folks so it'll be seamless. And we have them on our JTTF, so they will be working cases with us. A lot of our investigations are assigned. You'll have an FBI case agent, and a task force officer will be a co-case agent. So it may start with a local matter, it may become federal, but you work it side by side. And
one of the things where we really saw that, and it was imperative that it happened, was during the Republican National Convention.
Oh, yes.
I mean, his predecessor and this office here, and I mean, that effort and what was involved in that effort was seamless. All the agencies that were involved, I mean, really communicated from day one, and it made a huge difference in, how that turned out for us.
And it's now a textbook case of how you put on a convention because of the dire need for extreme security in a situation like that. You guys set the standard.
The only thing that they couldn't stop was Clint Eastwood talking to a chair. And I don't know what happened. I don't know how he slipped through that FBI dragnet, but as a Democrat, fine with me.
And the chair never said a word.
Not a word.
But I hope I'm not speaking off the record because we were talking earlier about like today, because people don't realize what do you do day to day and all, and you all were out, had SWAT teams out, is that right?
Yeah, actually, just within the past 24 hours here, our SWAT team went to execute an arrest out in Orlando at Dark 30. They were working at it in conjunction with the San Juan
That
Division.
would be early in the morning.
Very, very early.
Well, the rest of us are in REM sleep. They're out in full gear. But they executed an arrest on a violent offender at about 4:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And then once they were done, they drove all the way to Fort Myers to execute a search warrant at about midnight. Well, it'd be actually today. They executed that at about a little after midnight. So in the course of a 12-hour period, they were executing an arrest and executing a search warrant because some search warrants won't require that. Others will because the person may be armed and may be dangerous or a threat of harm to themselves or others. So the SWAT team would be the best use of those resources. So they're out doing stuff in our full gamut of our territory, which expands from the Gulf all the way to the Atlantic. And we go down from Naples up to Hernando County.
Okay,
and
from
all the way
Naples to
across.
Hernando, and then you got Miami down in the south, and then you all for the rest of the
middle
way
district,
up except...
The middle district of Florida would be covered by the Tampa Division. Miami would cover the southern, and then Jacksonville Division. Those are the three offices in the Florida that covers the northern and the panhandle.
I had a lot of buddies of mine growing up whose dads were agents. I grew up in the Northern Virginia area. And the job has changed a lot, and the skill set required for the job has changed a lot. Some of the areas that you talked about where you guys are involved, whether it's cybersecurity or terrorism or public corruption, require different skills. And so how has the job of an agent changed since you've been in the agency?
It's a lot more technical than it was when I first got in. We didn't even really have email capability on our computers. We had beepers if they need to get a hold of you, and then you had to get to a phone, usually a pay phone, to make a call. And then we went to the cell phone, the big box. So things have progressed to where now we have smartphones. Very different technologically. We are much more sophisticated than we used to be, and it's very difficult to keep pace with that because we're such a large organization. The bad guys can drop and change on a dime, whereas the Bureau, hey, we got to get funding from Congress and make sure we can update our equipment. And then you got 56 field offices and 64 legal attachés you got to equip. So it's very difficult for us to keep that pace. It's incredible that they're able to do that. We have roughly 22,000 professional support people, and they're able to make that happen. And you got to tip your hat to them to be able to accomplish that. The technology is huge.
And a big thing now is social media, and it's an advantage and a disadvantage because it broadens the way the bad guys can do things, but on the other hand, it allows you to get in there and check that kind of thing out and investigate.
Yeah. Today we recruit. You got to be somewhat computer savvy. Kids today, they're tweeting and twitting and banging away on their Xbox 360. Stuff I never heard of when I was a kid, wasn't even available, but now you got to have that skill set.
So we got about a minute left in this segment. So when you're looking to hire an agent, are you looking at their language skills? Because obviously your world has changed. Their computer skills. I know you hire a lot more lawyers and forensic accountants. So if this were a young person watching this show, obviously they got to have a college degree to come on as an agent. What other skills are you looking for?
The biggest thing that I look for is I want them to be able to logically think, critically think, and analyze. Doesn't matter what your degree is. Some people think you need to be a criminal justice major to get in the FBI. You don't. I was a history major. We have people that majored in music, fine arts. I worked with a guy. I mean, he's great when we were doing searches. He'd draw a sketch of the house, better than anybody. So it really doesn't matter what your discipline is, as long as you can critically think. So that's the key, to get your 4-year degree and focus on that. Because if you don't get into the FBI, you don't want to be miserable. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Get the degree in something that makes you happy and that you enjoy, and bring that to the table. We look for cross disciplines. There isn't one cookie cutter. Years ago it was an attorney or an accountant, and that's why I became an attorney. It was like, I want to get in the FBI, that's the way to go. And that's not the case nowadays. Computer sciences are big because that is such a growing market and will continue to grow. So that would probably never fail anybody. But if you don't like computers, then don't do it just because you think you're going to get in the FBI with that. But languages are big as well. Obviously, Arabic speakers are very difficult to come by. So that's a skill that would make you more competitive. But it's not a requirement. I only know English. I took 2 years of French. I can't remember diddly.
It's right down the same path I went.
Well, he struggles with that anyway.
Moi aussi.
I'll tell you, reading and writing these days, if somebody can put a good sentence structure together, you're winning points.
All right, well, Agent, thanks. Stay with us. We're going to get to see some of the really cool stuff that goes on here and maybe get to play a little bit. And then I'm going to have to kill you because you can't divulge any of this stuff. So don't tell anybody anything that you see on the show.
Absolutely. Be totally quiet about this. You can't say anything.
All right, we'll be right back. Thanks.
Today we're at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office Training Range facility. It's part of the program that we have. It's called the FBI Citizens Academy. We identify local community leaders, bring them in to the FBI, and give them an inside look of what we do on a daily basis. One of the main purposes of the FBI Citizens Academy is to foster a better relationship between the FBI and our local community. Well, one of the events today was an actual live demonstration by SWAT operators, our local FBI SWAT team. They had a situation where they had information that there were some bad guys that actually kidnapped some individuals. They took them into this shooting house, and their mission was to go in there and safely neutralize the threat while saving the victims or the hostages inside that environment. When we start talking about another unit, the hazardous material or hazmat team, they're critical to our overall mission when we're actually out there responding to a situation. There may be a toxic crime scene that they have to put on special gear to go in and process and collect evidence, for example. And they understand whether it's a biological or radiological type situation, how to proceed to go into that environment and collect evidence that's going to be crucial during a potential investigation and later a prosecution in that situation. We also have bomb technicians, and the bomb technicians are going to actually put on live demonstrations and blow things up for them, just to kind of show them from small scales to large scale explosive situations that can be a danger out in society. The participants will come into the Citizens Academy program thinking one thing about the FBI, but by the time they finish potentially 8 weeks in this course, they have a whole new understanding of what the FBI really does, and that's one of the purposes of this particular program.
As part of the community, wanted to get involved in learning what the FBI does and how we can be a better asset for them in our community and just have them more connected to the business community.
Anytime somebody were to attempt to use a weapon of mass destruction, whether it be biological, chemical, or radiological, nuclear, it becomes a federal case. Obviously, we have a major military facility with a lot of command incidents, and it's a potential target for terrorists. Obviously, ports, anywhere you have major quantities of goods coming in and out. And we have lots of industries in the area, high-tech industries, and then we have quite a few chemical things in the area, and anything could be a potential target. We can respond, and we can and do and have in the last year responded to several situations that could have potentially been really dangerous, and we've taken the danger out of the situation.
I am learning all about the FBI Citizen Academy and the operations of how it works, from shooting guns, from doing the hazmat and learning how people make bombs. It's been amazing, but the most important part of it is just being an aware citizen. We were able to actually shoot the guns, and I did pretty well on my first try. I feel more secure because I'm more aware, just because we've learned so much about white-collar crime, domestic tourism, as well as what goes on behind the scenes. Not too much, but a little bit. It makes me comfortable knowing that we have people that are protecting us, as well as knowing my environment and what to expect as far as if I see something out there that's not appropriate.
The team here, the different units that comprise of the FBI response teams, they are very good at what they do, and we can tell the public that if anything ever happens here, we have such good working relationships with our local partners that any situation, whether it be a kidnapping, whether it be an active shooter situation, or maybe a bomb scare or a bomb threat, we always collaborate, we always work together.
Jack, we're back. We get to meet some of the amazing people that work behind the scenes here that you may not ever see. One of them is Agent Brian Coble. He's going to actually maybe let us shoot the guns.
Uh-oh.
Sort of.
I knew that would be happening. I don't know why. I feared that. You love that.
I do.
You?
I do. Anyway, how long have you been an agent, Brian?
Been an agent 18 years.
Really? And you're also a lawyer.
I am. I'm an associate division counsel here.
So where'd you go to law school?
Went to law school at Florida State and undergrad at Florida State.
I'm sorry about that.
No, way to go, way to go.
Obviously, you have a limited academic preparation for this job. So it's as a lawyer, what do you do in the agency?
In the agency, I give legal advice to agents. I handle legal matters that happen. A lot of policy questions come up, make sure the agents are following our policy as well as DOJ guidelines and the Constitution and the laws.
But you also, I heard, were out last night on a roundup where they apprehended 2 fugitives. So you're not behind the desk, you're out there in the field.
Yeah, I'm also the SWAT supervisor, SWAT coordinator. So when the SWAT team gets called out, I go out as well to help advise the on-scene commander as to what our capabilities are and why the agents are requesting different techniques they might want to use.
So it becomes a legal thing? You handle any legal issues that come up as whether you kick the door down or not, or that kind of thing?
That size, if I get too busy on the SWAT side, they will call on the Chief Division Counsel to ask legal questions. But if there's downtime and I can answer the questions that they have, I'll do the legal side too. You have such
broad duties here. I mean, from firearms instruction to legal questions to SWAT team. I mean, that seems like an awfully broad area for you.
When I started in the Bureau, they hired me because I'm an attorney, but I got sent out to Phoenix and I was working white-collar crime for a couple years, and then I did homicides out on the Indian Reservation. But during that time period, I was on the Phoenix SWAT team, so I spent 10 years on SWAT, which gives me the background they want for a SWAT coordinator.
Wow.
And you can train your people here now, right? You
Absolutely.
don't have to go to some range somewhere or anything like that.
The training that happens here is more judgmental training. It incorporates the firearms, but we do need to go to the range. Our agents have to qualify 4 times a year with their handgun that's assigned to them, so we have to qualify out at the range quite a bit.
And do you use the sheriff's office range?
We do.
And now you know we're building a brand new one.
I heard about that,
Yeah.
and it's a lot closer.
Yeah, much closer, and we could use the revenue.
Yeah, I remember in the Citizens Academy, when we went to that part of it, the range training, we had to go out somewhere to a range, and I don't think we got to do the thing in here at that time, but looks like it would have been fun.
Oh, you'll have that fun today.
So what are we going to see shortly? What type of training, simulated training, can you do here that would sort of reenact or recreate an environment for an agent?
On the computer here, we have quite a few scenarios that put an agent or a police officer in a position he may not have been in before, and it gives us an opportunity to see what kind of judgment the officer or the agent displays, what kind of verbal commands they're giving to the subjects, and how they interact with the subject when they draw their weapon. Did they draw it too early? Did they draw it too late? Basically, what their judgment is. And then afterwards, when we stop the scenario, the agent's asked to explain his use of force and how it complies with our deadly force policy.
Do you have any scenarios of city council?
We do not.
Oh, okay. Just
That's
asking.
what, we should have gotten some pictures down here for you, something special like that. I want to tell you, we did this out at the sheriff's training facility out there, and there are a lot of poor dead people out
Oh
there.
yeah. I was a little trigger happy. So, but you're going to train me to do it the appropriate way, not just
Absolutely.
shoot everything in sight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just think of the SWAT team, the legal background, and all of the things you bring together in this, and as well as firearm instructor training. And if you had to go with one, what would it be?
I like firearms. Also, tactical instructor. I teach some of the active shooter techniques to law enforcement as well, and that's one of my more fun duties.
How does your family feel about your job, having to go out on a SWAT team?
I think my daughter likes it a lot better than when I was on the reservation. I'd be gone a lot more. The SWAT team gets called out occasionally, but not as often as when I was working homicides.
But it just seems mighty dangerous stuff. You're going around some nasty people then.
Got to remember, I'm in the command post with the command staff, so I'm not out on the front line anymore. So
All right.
it's not as dangerous.
Well, stay with us. Jack's going to get a gun.
Oh, no.
Duck at home. There's no telling where this is going.
Fortunately, this building is well hidden and away from anybody, so we're okay.
But we're going to learn from an expert some of the scenarios that the agents face out there in the street, and you'll see, because I know our hearts will be racing and our pulse will be racing, and this is just simulated. You can imagine what it's like for an agent faced with a bad guy with a weapon. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Jack, we're back for what I think is going to be the best segment of the entire day.
Or the worst.
Or the worst. This is where we get to do a simulated scenario, something that the agents may see out there on the street. It's going to be probably as real life as it can possibly be with simulation, and we're going to get a feel for what these agents are looking at, potentially down the face of a barrel. But more importantly, the decision to shoot or not to shoot is equally as important as how you shoot, probably. So
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty exciting.
Decision making and instant decision making in your life is always in danger in a situation like that. That's the one advantage we have in simulating it in here.
Well, you know, it's funny because oftentimes after shootings, the general populace will second guess what happened. You will never know unless you're walking in that officer or that agent's shoes exactly what he or she was faced with.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they shouldn't second guess until all the facts come out. And in every shooting, all the facts are going to come out.
Oh yeah, and this kind of training is so great. I mean, that this technology is available today to give these guys the kind of training where they can get into simulated situations and hope that if they do get into them in real life, that they're similar to what they learned from here.
Well, you know what the coaches say, you play on Sunday the way you practice Monday through Saturday, and so this is exactly what this is. So what do we got? You get the big boy gun.
This is an M4, and as I said, it does not fire real bullets, but we still keep it pointed in safe direction at all times. And we've already had a lottery, and you won the M4.
Yes.
I'm going to take it off safe for you. There you go.
Yeah. Let me see, similar to what I had in the Army
In the
back
Army?
in the day, but not quite. Let's see, I just want to.
You get to win the Glock 22.
All right. Now is it already?
It's already ready to go. When you
Okay.
pull the trigger, it will.
Safety
it will,
off?
There is no safety in that.
Okay.
But again, remember to keep that point in a safe direction. We need you to stand up here by this X. if
By
you would.
this X here?
If you can stand
Okay.
a couple steps over and a couple steps up, that should be fine.
Does this thing have a kick, by the way?
It does not. It recoils, but very minimal.
Okay, good.
Remember what happens, no matter what happens, keep calm, relax. If you feel yourself getting in trouble, call word is parking lot.
Parking lot.
You understand?
Parking lot.
Say that and we'll be in there to get you out.
Right here at the mic, parking lot,
Right there,
Okay.
yeah. Just don't bend down and do that.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay, we're gonna do this. Do this.
Here's the code word.
I'm sorry, damn it, come.
So one of the things I noted that neither of you told the suspect what you wanted him to do. You didn't tell them who you were or identify yourself. So he didn't have forewarning that law enforcement was on scene. You never gave him commands to get his hands up or to stay away from the knife. One of the things that if you had noticed the knife, I don't know if you noticed ahead of time, you would warn your partner, hey, there's a knife on the table, or watch the knife, knife, knife. But you have to give the subject commands on what you want him to do, so that it doesn't appear as you're just waiting for a chance to shoot him.
But I was.
But I mean, I would think.
Now this is just debriefing. You don't have to shoot now.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Come.
Ooh,
whoops.
That was Jack.
That was the first shot.
I think I just nailed him.
It says it's from the Glock 22.
Oh, that's a lie. That's not true.
Whoops. I
That
missed
was
him.
an AR-15 M4.
I missed him. I'm going to get him this time. Whoops, I missed him again. Shooting that
Might
thing
have
out of
knocked
his
his
hand.
knife out.
Yeah. That might have stopped his arm. Whoops.
Yeah. The key is, unlike video games, when you hit somebody in the arm with the gun, they're not going to fly back. They're not going to be incapacitated. Until you get a shot in there that hits the incapacitation zone, the person's going to continue to take hostile action against you. And that's why the computer registered that as you did not take action and that you didn't have a lethal hit. The computer recognizes, depending on where you hit the subject, that it's a lethal hit and he'll fall down right there. It actually branches out.
Oh, really?
I mean, I missed every one of those?
You did. The second one may not have registered your second shot.
What about the other 12? I ventilated that guy.
He was unloading.
Let's try another one with you.
I think they gave me blanks.
Here comes the other in 3, 2,
All right,
1.
you talk to the guy. I'm just going to shoot him.
And so you should keep this
You and your
down.
partner are assigned to an arrest team. Your partner is the lead agent. The arrest warrant was issued for durable medical equipment fraud.
Cover me, partner. You want to effect the arrest.
Well, that'll make you dizzy. Hold it, don't move. Stand right where you are. Stand right where you are. Did I shout at him enough?
I think you did. That's your first shot. That's the mayor's first shot. Mayor's second shot. And your last shot. You guys have time for another scenario?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can do one more.
I got a lot of bad guys to kill. Come on.
You need one of these in your bedroom.
Oh, I do. All right. You yell at him, Jack.
Okay. Oops, this guy's going to come out bad. Hold it right there. Hold it. Do not move. Stand right where you are. Drop the gun.
Ah, he's dead.
And drop down on the pavement. Drop the gun. If you don't drop the gun, we're going to drop you. Drop the gun right now. Drop it.
Now he's dead.
Yeah, I think we got him. Well, he wouldn't drop the gun. I just tried to shoot him in the arm. But
I don't think they're going to let me in the FBI. I got a feeling about this.
You use lethal force.
We'll skip to your the Glock's first shot.
Oh, yeah.
So now, in hindsight, it looks like he's already run away from you at the time you shot him. What did you observe?
That he ran away from me when I was shooting at him.
And why did you shoot at him?
Because he's got a gun.
And what other reasons?
Because he enjoys.
He's got a gun.
He enjoys
And there was
shooting
a
at him.
gunshot in the building before.
You heard an armed confrontation that
Yes.
happened inside where he's actually shooting, I'm presuming it's a bank. He came out with the gun and ignored your commands, well, it wasn't your commands, his commands to drop the weapon, right?
Yes. That's what I was
One
gonna
thing you
say.
could have done on your commands a little better is identify that you were with law enforcement. But again, time doesn't always, it's not always on our side. So you guys informed him to drop the gun. He had an opportunity to comply. As he's coming down, his side was towards you. Probably this is a little a little inaccurate in that when you took your first shot, his side was still towards you. Even at this point, if he just points the gun over his shoulder, he doesn't have to aim at you to hit you. All he has to do is pull the trigger if the gun's lined up right, and he doesn't have to be an expert marksman. So what we expect our agents to do is be able to articulate, why would you have taken that shot? It's not, well, I didn't want him to get away. It's not because he was running away from me. It's because this guy just hurt somebody in the bank and he ignored my commands to stop. And as he had a weapon in his hand, he was an imminent threat to me. He could be running to take cover behind a car. He could be doing a lot of things, but we have to be able to articulate why we do what we do.
That pretty well got
Second
it.
shot, third shot.
Oh.
That would be a miss.
He won't be sitting down for a while. And I tried to hit him in the upper, in the right shoulder, but, well, I guess I got him close to the right shoulder. And then it was in the chest.
So some good shooting. Again, we look for more than just the ability to shoot, and this is a good example of how our agents learn to be able to articulate what they do and why they do it. And again, that bank probably had surveillance footage. They would be able to maybe see the same thing we're seeing from this system is what the guy was doing, and we have to be able to explain our actions anytime we use force. We're going to do one more.
We got plenty of time.
We can do it. Hey, you got the little light weapon. I got the big heavy one here.
Oh, did I set that alarm off again? Man, I'm sorry, dude. No, I work here. It's all right.
Got to talk to him.
All right, just move away from that. Don't put your hands in your pockets. Just step away from there.
Jesse. My name is Jesse Wimmer.
All right, Jesse, step away from there. We're going to check what you got in the back of the car. Where were the FBI?
What? Calm down, man.
Where were the FBI? Just step away from there. Keep your hands away from your pockets. Keep your hands away from your pockets.
I work here. I told you I work here.
Okay, we'll check it out. We'll check it out.
Jesse, I don't have my driver's license now, man. I just came up here on my day off to get this stuff out of work. How about,
Jesse?
How about I give you my cell phone? You can call my supervisor. We'll sort this thing out.
No. Don't reach in there. Don't reach in there. Stay away from there. Do not reach in there. Give him another shot.
Just for good measure.
Let me get him one time here, too. Just. Son of a gun, he just won't stay dead.
So in the training scenario, our agents are not allowed to do that. It would get them written up
Like
really quickly.
Who was that?
Well, you're my lawyer. Come on now.
Polk County Sheriff.
Oh, the Grady Judge, yeah.
Why
We
did
ran
you
out
put
of ammo.
19
Come on.
19 rounds in it. He said, that's all we had.
I'm gonna
like
start
90 rounds,
from.
Jack.
I'm gonna start replaying it right from this situation. Who shot first?
Probably me. It seems
And
to be a
why
habit.
were you shooting him?
Because I saw him grab a gun.
You sure it
my
was a
story,
gun
and I'm
when he
sticking
came
to
out?
it. Yeah.
We have a branch of this scenario where what he pulls out of the truck really is a phone, and he still turns towards you. And again, the training point is to try to identify what he has. If you wait till he points at you, what's the problem with that?
You can be dead.
Yeah, you saw how quick he got that first shot off.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see on here when his shot got off versus your shot.
Look, calm down. I'm just grabbing my phone. All right? Just grabbing my phone.
So he got a shot off that went by one of your heads or into your heads. So good shooting. When you're already identified yourself as law enforcement and he sees you, sees your identifiers, and you have a gun pointed at him, most people are not going to reach in the back of their vehicle.
Yeah.
It could happen, but if you had shot him as he's reaching for the vehicle, the answer is that you've already identified yourself, you have him at gunpoint. There's only one reason for him to go in that car.
And that's to get a gun.
And in real life, you take other actions to try to get him away from the car. You'd be approaching him on foot, you'd be closing the distance, and by your physical presence, you would get him away from the car. But again, this scenario, they're not perfect, but they're a tool that we use to help debrief our agents, have them debrief why they did what they did.
Now that you have seen that we have no chance at a career in the FBI. We are a hazard to humanity.
I know. I don't think the bad guys want to see us coming.
No,
It's like, whoa,
they-
whoa.
or the good guys,
it's the
or
mayor
anybody.
and Jack, drop the guns, drop everything, keys here, anything you want.
Well, you got a little peek at sort of some pretty amazing simulation of what these guys face every day, and so you can see how erratic Jack and I are. You can imagine the discipline it takes to control your weapon and to make the right decision at the right time.
And know your life is in danger instead of standing there with a big screen.
So, I need to go practice some more. We'll be right back. Thanks, Agent. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
and,
thank you so much.
Just remember, don't judge unless you walk in someone else's shoes, especially law enforcement personnel. We'll be right back. Jack, I think we have proven without any doubt that we would never make it in the FBI.
No way, shape, or form.
We
Especially
shot
you.
everybody.
You are gun crazy.
They're bad guys, you know.
Well, that's true.
I'm just doing my part for the community.
They're not anymore. They're gone.
All their knees are gone.
I don't know if the FBI could afford your ammunition bill.
Yeah, I need a lot more lawyers than anything. We are with Special Agent Lynn Billings. She has a very unique talent, unlike the two of us. And no, we're not going to shoot that because we would miss.
We certainly would.
But she is involved in evidence, and what is the exact title of what you do?
It's the Evidence Response Team.
Evidence Response Team. So there's a crime, scene of the crime. The FBI has to go out and process all the evidence, and that is exactly what Lynn and some of her colleagues do. It's an amazing science.
Yeah, this is like CSI, I guess. People watch that on television, and that's become a huge program. I mean, the different variations of CSI.
It is, and that's what we do, is different types of forensic techniques at either crime scenes, or we're also trained to go out to large, complex searches.
Now, what do you mean by large, complex searches? That would be like when a missing person or
correct, or multiple locations, things where a lot of people are going to be involved and there's a lot of moving parts.
And so what type of evidence would you look for at a situation like that?
What we normally do are crime scenes, and so those would be everything from shooting scenes where there's been gunfire. It would include kidnappings. We do things like bank robberies, so all different types of scenes.
And people tend to think first and foremost fingerprints. You're looking for fingerprints. How far beyond that does it go?
We have all different types of techniques and equipment. We can recover human remains, is something that's fairly frequent that is done by us. We can do what we call trace evidence, which is hairs and fibers. If people commit a crime, they might leave behind shirt fibers or hairs from their head. We can look at those. And body fluid is another big thing. Things like DNA, saliva, semen, things like that.
That's been a big change in crime work is DNA. I remember the O.J. Simpson trial, people weren't familiar with DNA or he'd have been convicted because they had his DNA all over the crime scene and yet people weren't familiar with it. Yeah.
Tell us what DNA is.
DNA is something that is unique to each individual. And so if we go out and we are able to collect that, like some type of body fluid, it's something that we can bring back. We call it a unique characteristic, meaning it ultimately identifies a person. Just like a latent print is a unique characteristic. There's another called a class characteristic, which are things like shoe prints, things that may bring you back to a group of people. Hairs are like that. There may be a common hair for a particular ethnicity, but we can't bring that back to a specific person, where in DNA we can.
Yeah, and where do you get the training to do these kinds of things? How do you learn CSI techniques?
Well, if you're selected for the team, the first thing you do is go back for a 2-week basic class. Our unit is headed out of Fredericksburg, Virginia at the Operational Response Center. And so our members would go back for 2 weeks of training in which they cover all types of forensic techniques. That would be everything from, like I said, hairs and fibers and how we collect those, to body fluids, to latent prints, how we identify and collect those. Any crime scene we go to, we do quite a bit of photography, so we get all kinds of practice and techniques that we can do with different types of photography, as well as paperwork. We're very heavy on paperwork when we go to a crime scene.
I can only imagine that. And you got to have a lot of yellow tape.
We do, and we always have that with us.
And I don't know where you buy yellow tape, but you guys seem to always come up with it at the right time on that. How did you grow an interest in the FBI and move in this direction?
I was actually working in the weapons complex and had an interest in intelligence. and then got into the FBI. And ever since I've been in, I've worked on the criminal side and loved that, so I've stayed on that side. But as part of that, that's a lot of times we use these type of techniques that we have on the evidence response team. So because of that, I got interested in being on the team.
Now, Agent, this, which you're going to explain to us in a second, kind of looks like Jack's Christmas tree.
It might
That's because that's a beer bottle?
Yeah, that's how he decorates his Christmas tree, is with, you know, empty beer bottles. Now,
empty, definitely.
now, I don't know what Joy thinks about that, but we know that that could be evidence from Jack Harris last night.
Might have my fingerprints on that bottle. I like that kind too, wheat beer.
So tell us what's going to go on here, and then tell us when to get the heck out of the way, because something bad's going to happen.
Okay. This is one of the processes that we do. We call it super glue fuming. And what we're going to do...
My 9-year-old does that all the time
So
at
I'm
the
going
house.
to gear up here a little bit, but this is a burner that is in there. We have a piece of evidence that we think might have fingerprints on it. And so this is one of the things that helps us stabilize fingerprints. Fingerprints are very fragile. It's basically just oils that come from like your face and through your skin with other types of contaminants. And if it's on a non-porous surface, it can actually leave those contaminants on the surface. And due to the ridge details on your fingers, it can leave what we call a unique identifier, which is a fingerprint that's unique to each one of us. And so this process, because those are so fragile, we try to stabilize it a little more, and that's what we're going to try to do here is some super glue fuming. So this is a hot plate that is in there. This is just your common super glue, and we're going to take it and put it in one of these tins. And once this starts to fume, it's quite a bit, the vapors are irritating, so I'm going to don these lovely goggles. And we're going to put this on this hot plate, and in a minute you're going to see that it starts to smoke.
So the setup here, having this on it, is just to keep the vapors and everything in there as much as possible.
It is.
And I would imagine, I mean, the process in the chain of evidence for you when you go to testify has to be maintained. I mean, you have to be very methodical about this and document, because the defense attorneys are going to rake you over the coals.
And that everything we do in a very systematic manner so that we can justify it in court. And once this gets going, we probably ought to back up here a little bit.
You don't have to tell me twice on that one. Jack hasn't sniffed glue since the 7th grade in West Virginia.
We're going to let this go for about a minute.
We sniffed Scotch tape.
We put a test print on here, and so one of the things we can tell from this piece of plastic is when we see our test print develop, we know that we're in pretty good shape on what our item of evidence is. So we're going to unplug this.
That's the hot plate.
And then I'm just simply going to let these fumes out here.
Here we go. Good thing it's a little windy today.
Oh yeah, I see the prints on there already.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Look like
And then
Jack
what we would do is put a light powder on these.
Well, CSI watchers right now are saying, "Oh, I've seen that. I've seen them do that."
Yeah, but now the general public thinks you solve a crime in about 30 minutes.
It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Not that easy.
Oh, and that's got powder in the...
It does.
So the powder adheres to the print and gives you a better picture of it, if you will?
It does, and it just helps. We use a light powder on this to help it contrast against the dark background.
Oh, you can see it.
And
There we go.
this is what we come out with.
Those are your fingerprints.
They might be. I think, that is very close. And how do you get them from there or into evidence? I mean, that would be very delicate to be able to try to maintain that. If you're going to go to court with it or whatever, do you take the bottle like that, or what happens next?
Well, what we would do is if we're going to send them to our lab, we would put this in some type of packaging to make sure that we're not rubbing against those prints and ruining those, even though they have been somewhat stabilized with the super glue. Or we can lift those. We can do that ourselves with tape. And instead of going through the whole process here, we'll just show you this is what they come out looking like.
Oh, yeah.
And so we just
then you just take them in and match
lift
them up.
that powder off, put it on a card, and these then can be used to compare against a known print sample.
Well, Lynn, we thank you. It's amazing, amazing stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, we have found the criminal. He's standing right next to me. That is his beer. We know it's his beer. I'm sorry, Joy. He's going away for a long time.
But I enjoyed the beer.
Lynn, that was pretty amazing. I don't get to watch much TV, but now I've seen a real-life version of CSI. You have another experiment.
I do.
For us. Jack, we're back with another pretty amazing experiment, and we're learning all the tricks. So
boy, I'll
next
say.
time we commit a crime, we'll know not what to do.
Don't go barefooted.
Yeah. Lynn, tell us what we got.
This is our electrostatic dust lifter, and what this does is if we have an indoor crime scene, this can actually pick up dust that someone leaves from a shoe print. And so we have placed a print on the floor. What we're going to do here is, this is Donna Miller. She's one of our team members, and she's going to help me with this. This is a unit. We've put a ground plate down here, which is basically just a piece of this film that's been turned upside down, so we have some polarization. We're going to turn this unit on, and it's been grounded with this alligator clip. We're going to place this material over where our footprint is. And we're going to apply this. You're going to see that there's an electrostatic charge that goes through this paper. Okay. And Donna's going to very gently just roll so we get full contact with that. And that's going to charge that dust so that it pulls up against the bottom of this film.
Who discovered all this? I mean, who sat around and said, we got to do every crazy thing we can to figure out how to get a footprint? In the movies, they always find it in mud.
They do, and we can do that as well, but this is just, in case it's indoors, this is one way for us to do this technique. Okay. So we're going to pull that up, and hopefully there's a dust print on this.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So that's what we get from this.
Boy,
Again, we
that's
can compare
huge.
that against somebody's shoe that we believe was present at the crime scene.
Is that a sneaker?
It might be the very shoes Donna has
Yeah,
on.
there they are right there.
Might be.
That's amazing.
So that's what it looks like. Now, this is obviously very fragile because this is just dust. So first thing we would do is photograph this several times to make sure that we have a picture of it. And then we would use a box like what's behind you to make sure that we keep it so it's not being damaged once we take it
So
into
what type
evidence.
of, I mean, what is your background, I mean, and what type of training do you have to do this? I mean, this, you almost have to have a science degree to make this, to understand everything that you're doing here.
That is one of the things that we learn when we go to the 2-week basic training. But you don't have to, and we love people that have history and experience and background in forensics, but if not, that's one of the reasons that we go to this specialized training, is that's the type of thing that you learn at that training.
That's amazing. All right, ladies, thank you for your service to our country.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming out.
I will never commit another crime. I can't speak for him. But you can see, what you see on TV, these ladies do it for real.
They're doing it for real.
And it doesn't take 30 minutes. It may take days, weeks, years to do what they do. But they are relentless, and they will come and find you. And it's pretty amazing. So thank you.
And I'm going to wear gloves when I drink beer from now on.
Just drink better beer, would you? All right, we'll be right back. We're done shooting, unfortunately.
Yes.
No one left to shoot.
You'd love to be in there again.
Stay with us. We'll be right back as we wrap this one up. Well, Jack, we want to thank the FBI for allowing us to do this. We got a behind-the-scenes peek most people don't get to see. You get to see just one iota of the amazing work that they do on our behalf.
Yeah. And it's the work that they do here is incredible, and people just aren't aware of it. Most people aren't even aware that the FBI has a presence right here where they do. Shh. I know, we won't tell anybody either. Please don't tell anybody. But it's really remarkable what they do. And we didn't see where they do the cyber work downstairs here. We didn't have a chance to see some of that, where these guys are after the predators that are out there, and they're on top of these people day and night. It's unbelievable the work they do in stopping these vicious predators.
Well, I mean, human trafficking has become such an issue, particularly in the Tampa Bay area, and the work that the agents do and that the agency does in conjunction with TPD and HCSO really has saved a lot of particularly young women from a life of being trafficked. And
yeah.
They are heartbreaking stories, but for the men and women that work in this building, some of those outcomes would be a whole lot worse.
We got to talk about what's going on in Tampa, because I keep going back to the future so bright you got to wear shades kind of thing with all that Jeff Vinnick has done, as you call him, the patron saint of Tampa. Absolutely. And we still got to work on getting a name for that area, because nothing really great has emerged yet, but I think ultimately it will. But one of the big breaks that happened this past month was the USF medical facility and the heart center that's going to be down there. And of course, these trainees, and I remember either you or Jeff One talking about the possibility of them going between the center and the hospital by boat. Oh, yeah. Because you've got what'll be the waterfront right there.
Well, it's interesting because Tampa General Hospital is the teaching hospital for the USF Med School. And you're absolutely right. I mean, that decision to move the USF Med School into downtown Tampa, along with the Heart Institute, is really a game changer for us. I mean, that's going to bring an entire economic ecosystem, if you will, a medical educational complex that will drive a lot of the development in downtown for decades to come. Those young medical students and staff and nurses and faculty will fill up the condominiums that are being built and the apartments. The restaurants and the retail will come as a result of that. We can establish a water taxi to take them to Tampa General Hospital, but it will create an 18-hour-a-day environment in downtown Tampa. Thanks to Jeff, who donated the acre of land to USF. Thanks to Dr. Lockwood, the dean of the medical school, and Dr. Genshaft, the president of the university. The city is kicking in tens of millions of dollars to do the infrastructure. But at the end of the day, I think they'll look back on this decision that was made to move that as one of the most pivotal decisions that's occurred in downtown Tampa's history.
Undoubtedly, because there are going to be ancillary developments that are going to come around there, and it's going to expand even farther. And you've got things happening with the Leroy Selman Expressway, the linear park, I guess, or whatever's happening under there. And there are just so many great things happening in that part of Tampa right now.
Well, Jack, when this show is airing, we will have just cut the ribbon on the last segment of the Riverwalk, which is 6 mayors and 40 years in the making. We're cutting the ribbon on March 27th. And so it's going to be, all the dots are being connected. It really is an exciting time for us.
And I know, working, and I think you've seen it or whatever, working on now a Garden of Fame, or not a Walk of Fame, but a Garden of Fame somewhere on it, which I think is going to be a big draw too, and which would recognize famous people who either came here and lived here, movie stars, George Steinbrenner, little girl that played in Gone with the Wind, that kind of thing. We got a lot of people here that are known all over the country and all over the world.
And one of them is right here next to me, Jack Harris.
No, I will not be in that.
Thanks for an amazing show. Thank you to the FBI for allowing us to do this. Next time you see an FBI agent or get a chance to meet one, make sure you say thank you for their service to the country and to us. We couldn't be the safe community that we are without the help of the men and women that are willing to get up every day and put their lives on the line for us.
Oh, yes.
I know I speak for my partner in crime, Jack Harris. God bless the agents that are out there. Be safe, and we'll see you next month.
Three, two, one.